What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because this video we'll be taking a look at the next installment in the Star Wars franchise, The Book of Boba Fett. So this new Disney Plus series recently came out earlier this year and is pretty much meant to serve as a follow-up for what we saw at the end of Mandalorian Season 2, where we got to see Boba Fett sit on the throne of Jabba the Hutt. And then the screen faded to black before we saw the title, The Book of Boba Fett, which pretty much freaked us all out. Then came the trailers late last year, which got us even more excited because we were all thrilled to see that we were going to be getting an underworld gangster series set in the Star Wars universe. Which is funny because not a lot of people know this, but before Disney bought Lucasfilm, George Lucas actually wanted to make a Star Wars TV show set in the criminal underworld. And we saw a small sneak peek of what George Lucas was setting us up for when we saw the first and only trailer for the video game Star Wars 1313. But then came the day where Disney bought Lucasfilm and both projects were scrapped. However, in 2015, there were talks about making a Boba Fett movie with Josh Trank directing it, who made that really bad Fantastic Four movie that year. But after that movie tanked and after Josh Trank literally trashed his own movie and the studio before it even came out, Disney decided to cut all ties with him and the idea of a Boba Fett project was nothing but a dream. Fast forward to late 2021 and we finally got to see Boba Fett star in his own TV show where he literally takes over Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire. Which is pretty cool because from what we saw from the trailers, we could see elements from all three canceled Star Wars projects in this show alone that is centered around the criminal underworld. And I gotta tell you, I was very excited to see that we were going to be getting a Star Wars Godfather story. Well, the final episode just aired today, and after watching this show, I gotta tell you, I was kind of disappointed. Wait, what? Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you, but I gotta say that I was kind of let down for more than half of this season. Now, before we get into the things that bothered me, let's talk about some of the things that I really liked about this show. There was nothing that I liked about this show. All jokes aside, when it comes to movies, TV shows, anime, what sort of determines how much I like it is based on whether or not I'm going to rewatch it later on. For example, if I go back to rewatch several episodes from a TV show, it just shows you how much I really enjoyed the story. And looking back at the Book of Boba Fett, there are 3 episodes out of this 7-episode season that I will definitely rewatch. As opposed to the Mandalorian Season 1, where I will gladly rewatch 5 out of the 8 episodes of that first season. Same thing can be said about the Mandalorian Season 2, where 5 out of the 8 episodes are easily rewatchable. Now, going back to the Book of Boba Fett, without going into spoilers, I will say that I really enjoyed the final 3 episodes of that season. 2 of which that have nothing to do with Boba Fett at all, which is crazy because the show is called The Book of Boba Fett, and yet 2 of the season's best episodes have nothing to do with him whatsoever, as they're meant to serve as a setup for something really big later on down the line for another Star Wars show. Now, even though most of the season was a bit of a letdown, I gotta give credit where credit is due because I really enjoyed the flashback scenes in the first half of the season. Because not only does the show answer the big question as to how did Boba Fett survive the Sarlacc pit and Return of the Jedi, but it also provides some context as to what he's been up to during that time and how he met Fennec Shand from The Mandalorian. Who, by the way, is a complete badass because from beginning to end, Ming-Na Wen plays this character phenomenally with her ferocity and ruthlessness to the point where I think that maybe she should be the crime boss. Anyway, going back to the flashbacks, I would prefer to have all those flashback scenes put into one single episode where we get to see Boba Fett escape the Sarlacc pit, go on his little adventure, and then meet up with Fennec Shand at the end of it, rather than having it split up into several different episodes where half of it focuses on the flashback and the other half focuses on the Boba Fett story that is currently happening in the present day. Now, I can see how this show was trying to be like The Godfather Part 2 by telling both a prequel story and a current story at the same time. But in the end, it just didn't fit well because while we have this Dancing with Wolves story play beautifully in the flashback scenes, when you cut back to the present day, we have this ongoing gangster storyline playing out, which pretty much throws the pacing off because while we have these great flashback scenes, when you cut back to present day, it's a slow burn for the gangster side of the story. It's not until when you get to episode 5 where the story starts to go in a completely different direction, which almost serves as a defibrillator for the show. And once you get to episode 6, you almost forget that this is still a Boba Fett show. But after watching the finale, you are reminded that this is a show dedicated to a character who had 5 lines in the original trilogy, and one of them was Which is crazy because even though this character didn't have that much screen time in the original trilogy and went out in the most stupidest way, he was able to generate a fan base like wildfire. And I find that kind of cool because it just shows you how even the smallest characters can leave a huge impact on audiences for years and years and years to come. But like how I mentioned earlier, I find it strange how some of the season's best episodes had very little or no Boba Fett at all. I even asked my brother, who is a huge Boba Fett fan, and even he felt like this show did this character dirty. Now, if you're a die-hard Boba Fett fan, you may enjoy this series as you get to see this character's rise to power after escaping the Sarlacc pit and slowly become the mob boss that he was destined to be. And if you enjoyed this season, my hat's off to you because I'm really glad to see that you enjoyed this show more than me. But for me, I am sad to say that I was a bit disappointed from this show. Maybe it's because I wasn't that much of a big Boba Fett fan as a kid, or maybe it was because I wasn't a big fan of the slow burn storytelling that Disney was experimenting on with this particular Star Wars character. Because when you watch The Mandalorian, the story is fast as you get to see Boba Fett just wreck shop in the first episode he is in. As opposed to the Book of Boba Fett, where he is pretty much taking his time and making sure that he kills the right people in this gangster war. Honestly, I feel like the story really takes off for Boba Fett in the final episode, which pretty much makes this entire season bittersweet. And this makes me very nervous for the Obi-Wan show, which is supposed to come out later this year. For starters, there are going to be those who are going to ask, why do we need an Obi-Wan show if he's only going to be on Tatooine for the entire season? And there are going to be those who are going to say, well, we already know what happens to him in the original trilogy, so why have a show in the first place? I am praying that Deborah Chow is able to pull this off because looking at her resume, she did a great job with Better Call Saul and she did a good job with several episodes from The Mandalorian. Because for me, I'm more of a Jedi than a bounty hunter, so if there's going to be a Star Wars show with a Jedi at the center of the story, you bet your ass I'm going to be so excited to see it. Also, not only are we going to see the return of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, but we're also going to see the return of Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader. So fingers crossed that the Obi-Wan show is a big hit. I just remember, this is still a Boba Fett review, and here I am just rambling on about another Star Wars show. Anyway, going back to the Book of Boba Fett, if it hadn't been for those final 3 episodes, I probably would have liked the show even less. So overall, would I rewatch this show? I don't know, honestly, but if you're looking for something to watch on Disney Plus, and if you're a huge Star Wars fan, you should probably check out this show, and who knows, maybe you'll like it more than me. Well, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review for the Book of Boba Fett. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button, seeing all these updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.